From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Mixed Up Sports on mixedupsports.com, powered by twitch.tv here on this Super Friday, the 5th day of February 2016. Um, we got a lot going, a lot going today. Crucial Ryan to my left, Nick Sexton to my right. Boys, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Doing good.
As we mentioned, it is Super Friday. It is the last weekday before the Super Bowl. We will get to the Super Bowl. We will get to the Super Bowl in the second half of the show. There are some other football topics that we want to get to that happened over the course of the week, and one of the biggest ones, the one that had a lot of legs, was Colin Kaepernick wanting to leave the San Francisco 49ers to go to the New York Jets, which, if you follow me on Twitter, you guys know, to me, it's a move that makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah, without a doubt. We all thought, we were talking about this weeks ago, that we thought that, the Chip Kelly offense would flourish, if not bring his career back for him as a quarterback. With that being stated, maybe he's a little upset still about being benched to Blaine Gabbert, I believe, last season. And if he's still upset about that, well, maybe, he should have played better. But in the same sense, I agree with you 100% that this is a move that for any realistic player or anybody for any sport, if you have a system that you think would work, there's no point in leaving it if you're upset about last season. I mean, last season was last season. Let's move on. Make the situation better. You have a new head coach. Do what you can for the team that you're on, and don't cry about it.
Yeah, I mean, we all remember the playoff run the 49ers had with Kaepernick at the helm, so he's shown that he has potential to be that type of quarterback where he can, be a solid quarterback in the league, but he has to be under the right system. So last year, obviously, that he was under a system that didn't fit him too well, but Chip Kelly coming in, it'll, like you said, his career will flourish from there. And if he leaves, I mean, it doesn't really make sense because now they let a mobile quarterback go, which fits Chip Kelly's system, and they just have to go out and find another mobile quarterback. So, I mean, granted, Kaepernick might not be happy, but he has to realize that this is probably one of the best places to be in with Chip Kelly at the helm of the offense.
See, and this is the way I see it out of Kaepernick's mind. He's thinking, all right, I don't like management in San Francisco. I don't want to play here. Yeah, they just hired a head coach for me, but I really don't care about that. Let me go to the New York Jets. Let me just try to get a change of scenery.
Offense.
The Jets will put me as the number one starter. We'll be all right, and I'll try to work my way through there. The problem is they just had a starter get them one game away from the playoffs. And you know what? Their backup very well could beat him out. So when he goes into training camp in San Francisco, he's going to be going for a starting job. If he goes to training camp with the New York Jets, the best he could do is the second string quarterback. It it makes all the sense in the world to stay in San Francisco. You don't. The Jets are not going to mess with what Fitzpatrick gave them last season because Fitzpatrick, all he did was show grit, show determination, came back late in games, never really just gave up. The Jets are not going to go away from that. And as you heard Brandon Marshall say a couple days ago, that the team doesn't want to go away from that either.
Yeah, when you have your number one receiver basically putting it out there that you're going to stick with Fitzpatrick, I mean, why would you want to put yourself in, like you said, a new location where you, like you had stated, it's going to be at best second string. I mean, there's going to be some, prospects out there who are going to be like, well, we could put him as a wildcat, but even then, when they had Tim Tebow, a couple, 3 or 4 seasons back, how well did that work out for them? It didn't. Right now, the system they got, you had stated, a game out of playoff position. Stick with it. It obviously worked. They played great last season, and we had to give all the props to them. I just don't think, for Kaepernick's sake and for the New York Jets' sake, that this is not a smart move by either association or player. It just stick with what you got. And right now, for them, it's Fitzpatrick or even Geno Smith if he's healthy and starts.
Yeah, when Brandon Marshall came out and said that about Kaepernick, what also you have to realize is that Brandon Marshall, he had one of the best seasons in his career with Fitzpatrick as the quarterback. So why it wouldn't make no sense whatsoever for the Jets to say, yeah, Fitzpatrick, you had a great year, you got us that close to the playoffs, but we're going to go with Kaepernick and see if he does any better than you. When Brandon Marshall might have an off year then with Kaepernick as the quarterback. I mean, it makes no sense for the Jets to trade for Kaepernick. I mean, you can say he might be their quarterback for the future because Fitzpatrick's getting up there in age. I mean, Kaepernick's 28. He's not exactly, the young gun he was coming into the league. He's still, he's younger than Fitzpatrick, but bringing him in as the quote unquote future quarterback doesn't make any sense either.
And you brought up Tim Tebow. I mean, you can say all you want. You could bring him in for the Wildcat. You could bring him in for this. And although he is a better passer than Tim Tebow was, let me give you a scenario. Fitzpatrick drives you 80 yards downfield. You get inside the 10-yard line. Are you going to go with the option quarterback in that spot, or are you going to go with the hot hand that just drove you 80 yards?
Well, you would obviously go with the hot hand that drove you 80 yards because he still has that passing ability where if you want to throw a fade route to, let's say, Brandon Marshall, who is a top receiver in the league, you could theoretically do that and still be all right. With the option, we didn't work at all to what they had hoped when it was a couple years ago, even with Geno Smith. For me, the logical thing would be to stick with Fitzpatrick even in any situation, and therefore Kaepernick, I don't see him having a future at the Jets. And if he ends up going to the Jets, I don't see him having a future in the NFL whatsoever from here on out.
Yeah, if he goes to the Jets, that's basically killing his career because he's going to be the backup for at least another year, maybe two. Then he's 30 at that point, and no one's going to hire Colin Kaepernick, who's 30 years old and still isn't proven really even as a backup. So even for Kaepernick, the move doesn't make any sense to go to the Jets. And for the 49ers, it doesn't make any sense. For the Jets, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, none of it really makes any sense for Kaepernick to go from the 49ers to the Jets. I don't understand the situation that would work here.
He's got to be thinking that I'm going to go and I'm going to start, which is definitely not going to be the case. He's going to think he's going to walk in and get the starting job from a guy who had a fantastic season and had, for the first time since 1998, gave the Jets 2,000-yard wide receivers in Marshall and Decker. You're not going to bench that guy no matter what the track record of the other guy is, off of the way he played last year. Kaepernick's track record is not going to help him here. He thinks it's going. He has to think it's going to. Otherwise, he never would have said anything. He has to think it's going to. It's not.
He got benched to Blaine Gabbert. Now, the obvious person would tell you that Fitzpatrick is better than Gabbert, and that's 100% correct. So I don't know where he's thinking of, I'm going to walk in and be the starter, because let's face it, the fact that he was benched to Blaine Gabbert and did absolutely nothing for the 49ers last season, granted the system didn't really work, and obviously the coach was fired afterwards, but even still, he should be a better passer than Blaine Gabbert, and he didn't show it. Hence, that's why he was benched. So if he's going to walk into New York, I give him a 1% chance of making even second string or even anywhere close to first string. There's no way it's going to work out. Fitzpatrick is the obvious, I want to say, future for at least the next couple seasons for the Jets. And even then, you have Smith, who's behind him, who can get better. He's still a young quarterback. He's younger than Kaepernick. So with that being stated, you're obviously going to go from Fitzpatrick to Smith. I don't see any way where Kaepernick flourishes from this as if he would if he stays with the 49ers.
Yeah, and Geno Smith, he's 25, so like you mentioned, he's their future quarterback pretty much. And if you're telling me that the Jets are going to kind of cater to Kaepernick and switch their offense, which worked way better than in recent years, just to fit a possible starter in Kaepernick, it doesn't make any sense. Like you mentioned, Frankie, they had 2,000-yard receivers with Marshall and Decker, who, I think a lot of that has to be, a lot of the credit has to go to Fitzpatrick for, because, they've had Decker and Marshall, but they haven't flourished like this, so a lot of the credit has to go to Fitzpatrick for being the quarterback of that team and leading them to almost a playoff. So it really, I mean, if Kaepernick goes to the Jets, we've said it before, he's pretty much only going to be a backup, maybe.
And I mean, just like I said, there's no way. The first time in 18 years that the Jets have had 2,000-yard receivers and almost got them to the playoffs with a 10-6 record. You're not replacing that quarterback. And now from a quarterback that has no chance of getting replaced to a quarterback that probably has no chance of ever playing in the league again. With everything that's come out today about Johnny Manziel, there are two words that I can think to describe Johnny Manziel at this point, and that is wasted talent.
I mean, I feel like a lot of that goes to the Browns, though. I mean, because he's shown some promise, yet they just left he showed some promise starting for McCown, and then he makes one mistake, and then on an off day, and then he's out as the backup, or he's in as the backup role. And so, I mean, the relationship between the Browns and Manziel, we all know, it was getting worse. It was getting tedious. And so, obviously, I mean, he's not going to play in a Browns uniform. I'll tell you that much. But I do think that he still has some talent, and if he is in the right offense, I mean, if that Kaepernick trade goes through, I think that if he goes to the Jets, I think Manziel is a prime candidate for the 49ers role, where that's a big what if. But I mean, I think he
You're
definitely
gonna take you're gonna take all of that off the field baggage.
he's shown that he can play. I mean, he had some good games with the Browns, and
I agree.
he needs a veteran to take charge and kind of guide him and help him, and whether that's I think that's what's going to make the difference, is whether the 49ers have that, or if the whatever team ends up with Manziel, if they have a veteran that can try and calm him down and get him to the point where he's not a liability off the field. I think he has a real future in this league.
For me, that with what you had mentioned, Frankie, with the whole off the field baggage, I feel like that for that prime reason alone, there's no team that's going to be want to have him and be like, oh well, he represents our organization. Obviously, when he had that mess up on the field with when he was part of the Cleveland Browns, they benched him because we don't want that to be the face of our organization. So why would any other team want that? Cleveland Browns is an organization that's already towards the bottom of the food chain. Why would he want to go? Why would he be allowed to go anywhere higher and cause a reaction to the public saying, "Well, if they're going to allow him in, where else can they go?" With all this speculations, off-field problems that he's had involving police, drugs, and all these other issues that he's had. I mean, if you were owning a organization, Nick, would you want him to be the face of your company?
So, well, I mean, he's got some talent, but you're saying that no team in the league wants a first round pick that's 23 years old, that no team is going to pick him up, even with the off the field
I'm
baggage
I'm
he
I'm
carries.
saying
He's
that
toxic.
well, he has talent. He was a freshman Heisman winner, and he has the playing ability, and we saw that in those couple games. But yet again, those were the couple games, and he has too many off-field problems. He's told us time and time again that that would change, but yet we haven't seen any change. We've seen it regress. We've seen it gotten worse since the offseason. He's been having all these problems, and the fact that all this stuff is coming out now, and the fact that his own father has says that he won't make it to the age of 24, that's a scary thought. That
When he's 23.
yeah, exactly. That's a scary thought that even his own father said he won't make it to that birthday. That is a scary thought. And do you want to put that much? You want to put the value into somebody who's going to have all these off-field problems? That if his father ends up being right, we pray that it's not, because you never want to see that happen to anybody. What do you go from there? It sucks that he's put himself in this situation, but he needs to get the help. But right now, it doesn't seem like he wants to, and it sucks that he doesn't want to take control of it. Ultimately, this could cost his career. He's already lost his agent. He's dealing with all this stuff, and it sucks. But the only way he can go from now is up, and the way he's acting, it doesn't seem like he wants to go that way.
He is beyond. He is beyond toxic. This is from CBSSports.com. During the course of his short NFL career, Manziel has been involved in multiple alcohol-related incidents off the field. Now, two alleged domestic disputes, reportedly went to Vegas in a disguise the night before his team's final game, was seen partying in Dallas, And I mean, this is you thought Greg Hardy was toxic. This kid is the definite. This kid's nuclear right now. You can't. You wouldn't touch this kid with a 40-foot pole. I don't want him anywhere near my team. He's from what his father was saying today. He's denied rehab twice this week. He said twice this week he's not going to rehab. He's showing that he's not going to change. Jerry Jones has already said we don't want him anywhere near the Cowboys. There is no chance unless he straightens himself up and unless he proves that he is straightened up and will not do this again. His career as a quarterback is over. He will never get signed with another team at this rate.
I mean, I'm not saying that this is a safe pickup, right? It's obviously a risk. But you brought up Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy is 27. There's no chance that a veteran is going to be able to talk to pretty much another veteran in the league and calm him down. But I'm saying that Manziel is still young enough to the point where if he has a good, if a team has a good solid veteran that can shape him up, I think that he has a chance. I'm not saying that any team is going to pick him up.
He's denied rehab twice in 1 week by his family. If his family can't help him, what good is a veteran player in that locker room going to do?
Like I said, it's not a safe pick by any means. It's a huge risk. But if a team needs a quarterback that much, I'd say that give him a 1 year chance. If he doesn't shape up, cut him. Granted,
those kinds of risks, at least for me, those kinds of risks are too big to take. This kid, like I said, he's nuclear. He's gone beyond toxic. He's nuclear now. He's Chernobyl right now. That's how toxic he is. His career's over. Unless he changes and unless he proves he's changed, his career is done.
And when you mention the whole veteran thing, what veteran do you know that's going to want to take the time that this kid needs? He's shown us that he needs a lot of help and a lot of work. And the fact that, do you think that a veteran who already has their own stuff to deal with off the field and on the field, whether or not it's family or, athletic duties, do you think he's going to take time to be like, well, I'm going to sit down and straighten this kid out because he needs it? No one's going to go and take that time. Obviously, Manziel has messed up royally to the point where the only one that can fix it right now is Manziel. And if Manziel has the heart and the idea to at least understand that he has an issue and want to go fix it, that's the only way he can do that. But I don't see anyone else taking their time to go out of their way to help Manziel when obviously Manziel won't even help himself.
He's an incredibly talented kid. I'm not saying that he's not. He is an incredibly, incredibly talented kid. He's throwing it away is what he's doing. It is wasted talent. He's throwing this gift that he was given away to drink, party, again, 2 domestic abuse charges, partying in Vegas, partying in Dallas. I don't want him anywhere near my team.
Let me give you an example of someone who, a quote-unquote bust in the draft that had some off-field issues. Tyrann Mathieu, right? Went to the Cardinals, and now he's one of the best, defensive backs in the league. He wasn't nearly as toxic as Manziel. I'm not saying he was as toxic, but I'm just saying a lot of people thought, Tyrann Mathieu was young, Manziel's young, so there is a chance. I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm saying, it's definitely a huge risk.
And he learned quickly to be a professional. Manziel is not learning that, and there's no one that's as far as I've seen, there's no one that's going to take the time to teach him how to be one because he's showing no interest in becoming one.
Yeah, and when it sucks to see someone with his kind of talent where we all thought his freshman year, this kid could be the future of the NFL. And we're now looking going, well, where's he going to end up? It sucks to see that, but that happens. It seems like that's going to be the norm now. It seems like you have all these players that have potential that are just, with so many off-field issues, are obviously just ruining their career. And it sucks to see that Manziel is now the poster boy for that issue. you want to see him get better because he is a great player. We cannot take that away from him. What he did in college was phenomenal, and you want to see that transfer to the NFL. But no NFL team, like we've all stated this, they're not going to take a risk on him. And it sucks to see, but such a potential career goes down the drain because of it.
And the guy's a five-star caliber player with a one-star caliber, with a one-star caliber personality. I mean, this guy, like I said, he is Chernobyl. He is untouchable at this point. We will take a quick break. We will get to the Super Bowl. On the other side of this break, we'll be right back. Don't go away.